Welcome to the channel. Today, we are witnessing the moment of destiny in the dramatic story of Diep, the high society girl living in a gilded cage who seemed to have accepted the fate dictated by her stone-cold father. But when James, the young man who brought the light of freedom, appeared, a fire was ignited. That morning, amid the smell of coffee and the blare of car horns, Diep did what no one else dared to do. She stood up. Amidst the fear-laden air, she declared, "Enough, Father. I won't run away anymore." This was not just a declaration of war, but the moment truth and fear collided. What made the tyrannical father, who had never backed down, utter a heartbreaking statement: "If you choose him, there will be no turning back." Is Diep ready to trade everything, her safety, her fortune, and her family, just to choose honesty and love? Don't miss this emotional climax. You will see love, courage, and family secrets exposed in a historic moment. Hit like if you support Diep's fight for freedom. Subscribe to the channel right now to follow the next dramatic developments of the story and discover whether she can overcome her father's final control. They say there are moments when people get tired of running, not because their fear has vanished, but because they discover that running away is just as painful as facing things. That morning, as the city woke up to car horns ripping through the air and the rich aroma of freshly roasted coffee, Diep felt something inside her shatter, or perhaps finally be freed. For years, she had lived under the harsh shadow of her father, a perpetual wall, a cold stone. He embodied absolute decisions, treating discipline as his very breath. "Obey, and you will have peace," he always repeated. But to Diep, peace was merely a shimmering word, a distant echo that she could never touch. And then James appeared. James with his calm smile and a way of listening that turned every whisper into a worthy declaration. He didn't come to rescue. He simply opened a world where her thoughts held weight, where dreams weren't ridiculous, and her voice wasn't an obstruction. That was enough to resurrect what Diep thought had died: courage. But courage never comes alone. It brings doubt, tremors, sleepless nights, and the dizzying sensation of walking on an invisible thread that could snap at any moment. But Diep knew this, and this morning she could not endure another second of the imposed silence while her father decided her future with an authoritative voice. The words burned in her chest. She wasn't sure if it was anger or pain, only that she couldn't keep listening. And then it happened. She stood up slowly, her hands trembling, her mouth dry. But her eyes shone with an unprecedented steel will. "Enough, Father," she uttered, her voice unfamiliar, echoing like the first crack. "I won't run away anymore." The air thickened, as if time was holding its breath. James, standing there, took a step forward, stunned by the power surging from her. Even knowing that the gesture could change everything, he didn't move away. Eyes. This was a moment both feared, yet also secretly anticipated. Because sometimes true liberation isn't about running away, but about ending the silence. Diep, for the very first time, chose to face the music. But after a shout, the scariest thing wasn't the answer, but the silence itself. The stillness that descended upon the room after Diep's declaration. was thick and suffocating, filling every corner, as if the walls themselves were astonished. The father, a man who had never hesitated, stood motionless. He stared at her with the eyes that had dictated her destiny for years. But this time, for the first time, Diep didn't lower her gaze. Though she was still trembling inside, because in real life, confronting a tyrannical figure is nothing like the movies. There was no sweeping soundtrack, no invisible applause, just the sound of her heart beating like a war drum trying to escape her chest. James beside her took a deep breath. He knew the gravity of this act. Challenging the father was no small matter. It was an invitation to silent battles, the kind of warfare that hurts the most because it requires no words. Finally, the father spoke. "You think this is courage?" His voice was calm, almost bordering on amusement. "This is foolishness." His tone was a restrained punch, a reprimand cloaked in authority. But Diep's answer stripped that attack of its power. "No, father," she said gently but firmly, as if those words had been preparing all her life for this moment. "This is life." An invisible crack appeared in the air, not a shattering, but a sliver, like a long-closed door creaking open to let a single ray of light through. The father slowly walked toward the window, his back rigid, carrying a weight Diep had never noticed before. Perhaps it wasn't just anger. Perhaps it was fear, the fear of a parent losing what they believed they were protecting. Diep swallowed hard. James took half a step, but she gently raised a hand to stop him. This was her battle. The ordinary sounds of the street continued, children laughing, the hurried buzz of motorbikes. Life went on, oblivious to the drama unfolding in this house. Yet for Diep, nothing would ever be the same, because once the truth is spoken, there is no going back. They say the most dangerous truths are not the ones shouted, but the ones kept silent for too long. And that was the feeling that enveloped Diep as her father, still with his back to her, released a long breath, a sigh laden with years of secrets. "Diep," he finally said, his voice sounding more human than ever. "Do you think I was always this man? Do you think I was born this way?" The unexpected question stunned her. She didn't answer, for she had never imagined her father capable of revealing any vulnerability. James watched, as if witnessing something sacred, the moment a mask slowly drops. "I had to stand up to my own father too," he continued, "and I couldn't. I failed. You just did what I never had the courage to do." Was it an admission, or just the nostalgia of a man tired of maintaining control? The father slowly turned around. "I haven't been fair to you, and I know that the young man you are looking at, James, is not just a whim. I have known it for a long time, but I refuse to admit it." The air grew thicker, not with fear, but with the feeling of having crossed an invisible boundary. Diep felt a lump in her throat. She had yearned for these words for years, but now she didn't know how to receive them. James cautiously stepped forward. "Sir, I only want to be with her. I'm not trying to take anything from you." The father looked at him, his cold eyes now seeming weary. "I know, but understanding doesn't mean acceptance." And there another silence fell deeper, heavy, with the suspicion that what came next would be even more definitive. Because when words begin to be revealed, secrets tend to spill out one by one. Life is sometimes summarized in a single moment, The minute you decide whether to stay or run, that moment arrived when her father, after a prolonged silence, uttered a statement that tore through the room like a cold knife. "If you choose James, there will be no turning back." He didn't yell. He said it with a cold composure that was more painful than any threat, the kind of composure found only in final decisions. Diep's heart hammered like a battle drum. James clenched his jaw, aware that any action or word could ignite a spark. Father Diep began, her voice trembling like thin glass. "I'm not choosing between two people. I'm just choosing not to lose myself." Her father looked up. His eyes, usually as hard as metal, showed a fissure, as if a part of him understood but wasn't ready to concede. "I have always protected you," he said softer, "even when you thought I was controlling you. I thought that by keeping you away from pain, I was saving you." Diep felt a strange warmth, a mixture of compassion and pent-up fury. James stepped up, as if he had finally found his courage. "I hurt her unintentionally," he said, his voice resonating in the room. "But I never stopped respecting her, and I never stopped waiting for her." Those words were an emotional slap. Diep looked at him, surprised, her eyes welling up. The father took a deep breath. It wasn't defeat, but it wasn't a victory either. It was resignation, a silent acknowledgement that children sooner or later will walk their own path. "If you stay with him," he finally said, "let it be, because you are ready for everything that comes next, and not because you are defying me." Diep nodded. There were no shouts, no tears, just a decision that for the first time belonged to her. And so, in that emotionally charged stillness, she realized one simple yet powerful truth. True courage is not facing the world, but being honest with yourself. Diep stood firm. The trembling inside her subsided, giving way to a cold serenity. Her statement, "I'm just choosing not to lose myself," was not a defiance, but a declaration of independence, which made her father psychologically retreat more than any angry shout would have. The air grew thicker, not with fear, but with the feeling of having crossed an invisible line. Diep felt a lump in her throat. Her father, Mr. Thon, was still staring, but his eyes, usually as hard as metal, now held a flicker of incomprehension. It was no longer a punishing look, but a searching one, as if he were trying to read a language he had deliberately forgotten. "Do you think things are that simple?" Diep Mr. Thon said, his voice lowering, carrying the resonance of rooms filled with memories. "Choice, freedom. Where did you get those words? From worthless books, or from this young man's empty promises?" Mr. Thon stepped away from the window, where the morning light had outlined his silhouette on the floor. Now he walked into the shadows, an unconscious yet telling move. "I have always protected you," he said softer, but every word carried immense weight. "Even when you thought I controlled you. You saw discipline, you saw commands, but you didn't see the burden on my shoulders. I thought that by keeping you away from pain, I was saving you from a world that would devour you. That is how I learned to love." Diep felt a strange warmth in her chest, a mixture of compassion and compressed fury. She knew he was speaking his truth, but that truth had suffocated her. "Your protection wasn't a home." Father Diep countered, her voice steady. It was a cage. You gave me false peace, but you took away the strength to fight for myself. You taught me to avoid the fire, but not how to walk through it. Mr. Thon let out a sharp breath, an act of overt fatigue Diep had never witnessed. Was this defeat? Or was it recognition? James, you say you aren't trying to take anything from me. Mr. Thon turned to James, his gaze sharp as a knife. But you have taken the most precious thing, the silence. You taught my daughter to speak, and that is a grave offense. James did not back down. He knew that any self-defense now would only add fuel to the fire. He could only offer sincerity. I hurt her, unintentionally. James said, his voice deep and clear. But I never stopped respecting her, and I never stopped waiting for her. I respect the rules you have set, sir, but rules cannot substitute for life. I don't give commands, I only offer a choice, and that choice she must make for herself. Those words were an emotional blow that filled the room. Diep looked at James, her eyes moist at his public acknowledgement of her. The father turned back calmer, but the resistance was undiminished. It had merely shifted from anger to authoritarian logic. A choice, Mr. Thon scoffed. My daughter has never had to worry about money, reputation, or how the world looks at her. She lives in a fortress. What can you give her besides insecurity and meaningless romantic ideas? Love does not pay the bills, Diep. This choice is selfish and frivolous. Suddenly, Mr. Thon walked towards an old, heavy wooden cabinet in the corner of the room. He opened the door, and Diep saw a few old artifacts inside a small wooden box and a faded photograph. Mr. Thon took out the picture. It was an image of a young man, his face stern, but his eyes still held a hint of softness, standing next to a beautiful, radiant woman. It was Mr. Thon and Diep's mother before everything turned cold. When my father died, I had to become this man overnight. Mr. Thon said, his voice almost a monologue, speaking of a Diep he had never known. I had to protect this family from collapse. I had to do things I hated, accept compromises I despised just to keep this roof over our heads. You know, Diep. My father, he was a romantic, a dreamer. He lost almost everything chasing frivolous things. I witnessed that. He put the photo down, turned around, and his gaze was no longer distant, but filled with a deep, profound pain. I swore I would never let my daughter face that precariousness. My control, Diep, was not to stifle you, but because I was too terrified of failure. Silence filled the room again, but this time it was loaded with revelation, not hostility. It was a moment of understanding, but not yet acceptance. Mr. Thanna's resistance wasn't just against James, but against his own personal history. Diep felt her heart soften, but she couldn't let compassion eclipse the truth. You couldn't fight, and you failed. Diep said gently, you did what you had to do to survive, and I respect that. But you did something worse than failing. You never allowed your daughter a chance to try and fight. You decided I would be weak just because you once were. Mr. Thon lowered his head. It's too dangerous. Living is dangerous. Father Diep replied, stepping closer to James and gently taking his hand. James is not a guarantee, he is a choice. You said love doesn't pay the bills, but I say a life lived without honesty is not worth any price. Mr. Thon looked at their clasped hands. His eyes, which had been tough cold, were now empty. He saw the undeniable truth. Diep wasn't defying him. She was surpassing him. If you choose. James Mr. Thon said, his voice so low, it was almost a whisper, let it be. Because you are ready for everything that comes next, and not because you are challenging me. Mr. Thon exhaled again, this time long and heavy, as if he was releasing a decades-long burden. I accept, he said, but the word was uttered like a declaration of defeat. But you must understand one thing. This door will always be open to you, but I will never forgive him if he makes you suffer. He didn't say, if you fail. He said, if he makes you suffer. That was the difference Diep couldn't ignore. It was the transition from control to conditional love. Diep didn't respond with words. She stepped forward, not as a penitent child, but as a self-possessed adult. She wrapped her arms around her father. The moment was one of absolute stillness. Not the silence of hostility, but the silence of a beginning. Mr. Thon, rigid as a plank of wood, slowly, reluctantly returned the embrace. It was a clumsy, awkward hug, but it was real. James stood watching. He didn't step forward. He didn't say a word. He understood that this was their moment, a moment where the truth finally won over control. When Diep pulled away, tears streamed down her face. But they were not tears of sorrow, but of liberation. Thank you, Father, she said. Mr. Thon simply nodded. He turned to look at James, and that look no longer held hostility, but a quiet warning. Don't hurt her, he said, just that simply. James nodded, words unnecessary. Diep turned to James. She squeezed his hand tightly. His touch felt warm, alive, a stark contrast to the coldness of this house. Together, they walked toward the door. Diep glanced back at her father, who still stood there, a statue of newfound acceptance. As the door closed behind them, life continued, the ringing of bicycle bells, a dog barking, the world's indifference to the emotional earthquake that had just occurred. Diep and James walked, not running away, but moving forward. In that moment, Diep understood that true courage wasn't about confronting the world, but about being honest with herself. She had won, not by destroying her father's wall, but by finding the secret door within it, the door named truth. And she knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but now she had enough strength to walk through it. Diep and James stepped outside. The bright morning sun and the city's noise hit them like a wave. The air was no longer thick with fear or hostility as it had been inside. It was the air of freedom, yet it also carried a terrifying uncertainty. When the door closed behind her, Diep felt a sudden emptiness. Liberation didn't arrive as a trumpet blast of victory, but as a stunning quietness. She had fought for years to escape the cage, but now that she was in the open sky, she realized she wasn't sure where to fly. James squeezed her hand tighter. "Where should we go?" he asked softly, his voice full of respect and a hint of trepidation. He wasn't trying to lead, just to accompany her. Diep looked around. Motorbikes whizzed past. The faint smell of pho wafted from a street corner. Life went on, but for her, everything had changed. "Somewhere without the echo of my father," Diep replied, managing a faint smile. They found a small, old coffee shop tucked away in an alley. The space was cozy, just noisy enough to dispel the heavy silence of the morning. When the coffee was placed on the table, Diep truly felt she could breathe. "Are you scared?" Diep asked James, looking deep into his eyes. James stirred his coffee, his movement slow and thoughtful. "I was terrified. Scared I would ruin what you were trying to build. Scared that his words would be true, that I couldn't give you stability. Scared I had accidentally hurt you again. And now, James looked up, his gaze steady. I'm still scared, but I'm less scared of that than losing you. Your choice made me realize that love isn't a parachute deep. It's the choice to fight together, even when everything is chaos." His words weren't meaningless romantic vows. They were an acknowledgement of the reality that her father had once scorned. That made them even more meaningful to Diep. Freedom came at a price. After just a few weeks, the harsh truth Mr. Thon had warned about began to emerge. Diep, who had never worried about finances, was confronted with the reality of income versus living expenses. She had given up a stable job arranged by her father to pursue her dream of becoming a freelance graphic designer. The creativity was there in abundance, but the large, steady contracts were not. One evening, Diep sat in front of her computer screen, her head resting on the desk, her eyes tired. She had just been rejected for a major project. "What's wrong, my love?" James asked as he did chores in the kitchen. "Loneliness," Diep whispered. "Not loneliness from being without you, but loneliness in this fight." Father was right. He always said the world would devour me without his protection. He prepared me for everything except failure. This was the persistent echo of the wall she couldn't shake off. Even though she had escaped her father's mindset, remained an invisible cage in her mind. James sat down next to her, not attempting to minimize her pain. He was right about one thing, Diep. The world is harsh, but he was wrong about the other. Protection isn't money. It's the ability to get up after you fall. He told her about his own business failures, the nights he had to sleep on friends' couches, the shame of having to start over from scratch. He didn't tell her to seek sympathy, but to share. "I was devoured," Diep, James said, taking her hand. "But I found my way out. And you will too. Because what is the difference between you and your father? Your father fell and couldn't get up the way he wanted to. You will fall, but you will fight." Diep looked at him. She realized that James's support wasn't a promise of an easy life, but a pledge of loyalty in hardship. Their relationship was tested small arguments about finances, about unspoken expectations. James had failed her once, but now he faced a heavier responsibility, becoming a foundation without control. One evening, Diep received a call from her mother. "Your father is sick." Her mother said, her voice tired. "He refuses to see a doctor. He just sits there looking at that old photo. He says he's waiting." Diep felt her heart sink. She understood. Mr. Thon was waiting for her failure. The failure he believed would prove him right. Mr. Thon was waiting for Diep to come back so he could say, "I told you so." But that no longer terrified her. Mother Diep said, her voice filled with compassion yet firm, "I love Father. I will visit him, but I am not coming back. Tell Father I can't return because I haven't truly gone far yet." She hung up sighing. She turned to James. "What do we do now, James?" James stepped forward, hugging her from behind. "We live Diep. We live well. We live in a way that makes him realize that freedom isn't chaos, but a different kind of discipline." A few weeks later, Diep and James were deep in sleep when Diep's phone rang. It was Mr. Thon. Diep hesitated. She knew this call wasn't just to ask about her health. "I'm listening," Father Diep said, her voice composed. "Are you doing well, Mr. Thon?" asked, his voice sounding hoarse, weaker than usual. "I'm fine, Father. How are the finances? Is he treating you well?" The words tumbled out quickly, still the familiar control, but this time clumsily disguised as worry. "I'm managing on my own, Father, and James is very good to me. He respects my choices." There was a long silence on the other end. This call was the final test. "I just sold a small asset," Mr. Than said. "A portion of it I will transfer to your account. Consider it a help, not to buy you back, but to give you more time to find yourself." Diep felt a choke in her throat. This was not a victory. This was the reconciliation of a father trying to show love the only way he knew how, without control. Father Diep said, tears streaming down her face. "I can't accept it." "Don't be foolish," Mr. Than interrupted, a flicker of his old tone. "Take it. I don't want you to suffer what I suffered. I have to accept what I must accept." Father Diep replied, but her voice was soft. "You taught me that when you told me about your failure. I will earn the money, but thank you, Father. That is the kindest thing you have ever done for me." She didn't mean the money, she meant the offer. After another silence, Mr. Than simply said, "Good. You've grown up," and he hung up. Diep put the phone down, tears still falling. James held her tightly. "I refused his money," Diep whispered. "Do you think I'm an idiot?" "You refused his last cage," James corrected, kissing her hair. "And you gave him an even greater gift, the truth that he doesn't need to save you anymore. You gave him peace." And just like that, Diep understood. Courage wasn't about facing the storm, but about being honest when the storm had passed. She found liberation not in running away, but in choosing fidelity to her values. She allowed her father the space to love her without controlling her. Diep and James's lives continued filled with financial challenges and small arguments. But now, those problems were just external noise. Internally, they had found their strength, the power of a love built on choice, not compulsion. Diep's story did not end with a grand event, but with quiet peace. Because true victory is not conquering the world, but conquering oneself and allowing those who love us to do the same.